Good morning, everybody, and thank you for joining us after a long weekend. It's the first Lakehead Live session this week, and we are starting with Transition Tuesdays. So thank you for joining us through our webinar. Today, you have myself, Jennifer Hay. Unfortunately, Jordan will be away today, but I have my coworker with us. Again, my name is Jennifer Hay. I'm the International Immigration Advisor and Razia for Lakehead University. VJ is my coworker working in the office as the International Student Advisor. VJ, would you like to say a few things?
Thank you, Jen. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Transition Thursday. My name is Vijay Babu, and I'm one of the international student advisors at Lakehead University International. There are three of us here. The other two academic advisors are Laura Pudas and Latifa Olatunde. So we have students with academic advising, general counseling, with course registration, a lot of these things. So if you have any questions regarding academic advising or course registration, feel free to reach out to us.
Thanks, VJ. So this is our fifth, I think, Transition Tuesday. I'll jump right into it. Tuesdays are always dedicated to immigration questions and advice. I know there's lots of unknown and uncertainties still around the COVID-19 situation that we are all impacted by with visa closures and biometrics. We have been sharing a lot of updates that have been coming from IRCC as much as we can with you. So as you know, with visa restrictions that are in place for people who have had visas issued after the March 18th date, you are still unable to travel to Canada. However, we know that IRCC is supporting your online classes from home. So if you've had that study permit approval, you can take your classes online from your home country in the fall. These courses will still count towards your postgraduate work permit. So lots of good updates and so forth. We do have the link for the COVID page at the bottom here. You'll see lakehead.ca /about/coronavirus, and that has all of our updates from specifically Lakehead. So please make sure you're watching that. Of course, my email is here. So after the webinar today, or if you have specific questions, you can talk to me directly by email, immigration.intl@lakeheadu.ca. General questions about admission and programs and costs and so forth, even residents, you can send to the welcome@lakeheadu.ca. For today's webinar, we tried to keep all the questions into the Q&A. So at the bottom, you can see there's a little Q&A button on your screen. Feel free to ask any questions through there. I also have some updates. So if we have not too many questions, which doesn't really ever happen in our sessions, I can share some updates and so forth with you. And please always stay connected with us. Follow us on social media. We're on obviously on Lakehead. We have a Facebook page, Instagram, YouTube channel where all of these sessions are stored. They are all recorded. So please feel free to look past at any of the other sessions and join us throughout the week for the other Lakehead Live where you can connect with faculty. And like BJ said, Latifa will be on the Thursday session. You can meet our other advisors. So without further ado, I'm probably going to jump right into the Q&A and start answering some of the questions from you guys. So the first question coming in is from Kapil. Hi, Kapil. So you're asking if the visa process has started. So visa processing has never ended. IRCC has still been processing study visas and all other residency applications to Canada through the website. So how we do have some visa application centers, so VACs, that are closed around the globe. The online processing is still going on. There may be some delays, so we definitely encourage you to apply for your study permit as soon as you've received your letter of acceptance from Lakehead. And again, the fastest and easiest way to apply is online through the IRCC website. It is www.cic.gc.ca. So the next question is coming in. Hi, Jennifer. Can you please tell me whether the dependent visa for my family, husband and children, will get rejected due to the pandemic if I apply with the study permit from India? So no, there would be no reason why your application would be rejected due to the pandemic. Applications are rejected based on inadmissibility. So as long as you meet the admissibility requirements to come to Canada and you've provided sufficient information and evidence to support yourself and about your stay, your application should be approved. So in my experience, the husband and children, if your application is approved, like you as the principal applicant as a student have met the requirements to study, your family members will be eligible to stay with you, and your husband obviously to work or visit, and your children to study or visit. The next question coming in. Hi, I am from India. Please suggest me that I should get a study permit first and then apply for my family. Or is it possible to get a study permit first to come to Canada and apply for my family visa? So, in my experience over the last 10 years, I've had both opportunities. There's often where I have the student will come first, get settled, maybe make sure they have an apartment and a part time job, and then apply for their family to accompany them later on in their studies. However, I do often have families that come all together. So it just depends on your situation and what you want to apply for. You can apply at the same time or you can apply afterwards. Either one is available. The next question is it okay to apply for a visa for the January 2021 intake? As soon as you've been accepted to Lakehead, you can start the visa or the study visa process. And of course, we recommend starting it as early as possible. So if you have your letter of acceptance for January 2021, you definitely can start the process now. There is no harm in having your approval done earlier. Next question is coming from Vishali. Hi, I am now applying for the Masters of Education winter term, and although the drop-down menu shows that the winter session is open, I'm unable to complete the application um, for international students. So this is more of an admission question. I would recommend that you connect with Grad Studies directly for the Masters of Education to see if there's something just happening with the application page, and they can at least let you know what programs are available for January. Next question comes from Anchor. I have applied for the study permit on June 19th, and I still have not received any update from IRCC. So Anchor, if you've applied online, you can always log into your application and look to see if there's any new messages from immigration. If you applied on June 19th from outside of Canada and have already completed the biometric step, your application is likely just in progress. And you may be able to see if there's any updates. I haven't really seen any messages in the account about the first stage approval, so we're still just waiting for some clarification on that. But June 19th, with processing times being around 8 to 12 weeks, doesn't sound too unrealistic. But if it is past that processing date, which you can always check processing dates online, you can always send immigration a web form inquiry and ask them for an update. But please note, if it says on the website it's going to take 8 weeks for processing in India, you must wait for the 8 weeks to be complete before you can check the status. The next question is coming in. I have initiated the admission process and have a question regarding online classes. Due to the pandemic, if the visa is delayed before the start of fall 2020, am I able to join online lectures? So the answer is yes, you can start your classes online before you get your study visa approval. You want to have the study visa approval hopefully before the end of September, because that fall term will then count towards your course or your postgraduate work permit when you graduate. And students know you must have a study permit and complete at least 4 semesters of studies, and 50% of that program must be done in Canada for you to qualify for your postgraduate work permit when you graduate from Lakehead. So students who are accepting into undergrad programs, 4-year programs, that one fall semester, even if you didn't have your study permit, wouldn't be such a big deal for you because you still have 7 to 8 more semesters that you will be completing in the country. However, if you are in a 1-year master's program like the MBA program or other programs that are just 1 year, you may want to consider ensuring that you have that study permit approval, as that will impact your postgraduate work permit. The next question coming in, is there any time duration between study permit and applying for the dependent visa for your family? So when you submit an application to IRCC, it's going to go under the principal applicant. So if you're applying for a study permit and you add family members to your application, it's still going to be processed the same time as the study permit application. So if you would have applied by yourself. The next question coming in. I'm staying in Thunder Bay and your course will begin next month. My study permit will end this year in December, so I want to prolong the study permit. So this is a great question, and this is a part of my everyday job here at Lakehead University. Students will often come into the program and maybe even come to Canada later, or maybe have to stay with Lakehead longer and need to do what's called a study permit extension. So please feel free to take my email down from the slide and you can book an appointment with me one-on-one. Once you've registered for your fall semester, then we will get an updated enrollment letter. You can request that through your My Info special letter request. And then with that updated enrollment letter, we can extend that study permit to the end of your studies now. But you should register for your fall term before doing this. You also should check your passport to see if your passport's expiring, as you cannot have a study permit that's longer than the passport. The next question is coming from Devanj. My fall term is currently online, but if I get my visa and complete both stages, can I travel to Canada in mid-fall term? So as of right now, only students who have had a study permit approval before March 18th, 2020, and have a letter confirming they must be in Canada for the fall semester will be eligible to enter the country. Also, along with that, there are other requirements, including isolation and quarantine plans and having an arrival plan to show the cbsa, the immigration officer at the port of entry. So we do have a welcome package that's sent out to accepted students. Please make sure you're reviewing all the information in there, as well as the links that show you to the border, so the port of entry, and immigration requirements for students to enter. So if your study permit is approved any day right now, you will not be able to travel into Canada, as you do not meet that exemption, and your courses will be online for the fall, so it's not essential for you to be here. However, please keep in mind that CBSA could change that rule at any time, or IRCC, so we must watch for updates to see once that restriction is lifted. And once the restriction is lifted for travel, then yes, you would be able to come to Canada at any point. Even if your fall semester is online, you could continue your classes online from in the country, and then hopefully continue into in-person delivery in the winter term. The next question, I'd like to know if it's possible to get a visa and work part-time during the graduate or English course. So if you're taking an English as a second language, so ESL or AEP programs, and that's a non-post-secondary program, or if you're studying in a qualifying year, you're not actually full-time in a post-secondary program, so you would not be eligible. So there's a few pre-programs, so like the business skills development is a summer program that gains admission to MBA, or there's also one for engineering. Those are not full-time post-secondary programs. Same with our AEP classes. So you're not eligible to work during those studies. But once you start your full-time program, so if you're in the actual 4-year English degree program, yes, you would be able to work part-time 20 hours a week while you study, and then full-time during your scheduled breaks. Undergraduate students have scheduled breaks for the whole summer, as well as the reading week and Christmas break and other holidays throughout the year. And master's students have continuous enrollment throughout the summer. So they will work 20 hours a week besides the short breaks between their terms and the holidays. Next question is coming from Deep. I have applied for my study permit, and I would like to know that if I can register for classes if I haven't received approval for online. Is it okay to register for classes without having a study permit? And this is a good question. As registration is open for the fall term and class space can be limited, we do recommend registering for classes now. VJ is on the call here, so you can also connect with VJ directly if you need any help registering for your classes. You will want to pay attention to important dates calendar on the Lakehead website, which will talk about the last day to drop a class or the last day for a refund. So again, you can attend your fall courses online without your study permit. You just would like to have that study permit approval for it to count towards your postgraduate work permit. But in the event that your study visa is refused and it's later in the year, there could be implications for you. So please make sure you're being mindful of our important dates. The next question is coming from Kumar. Hi, my session is starting from September and my visa process is still pending. Additionally, the international flights are yet to resume in India. What if I get my visa approval and admission for first year? Should I fly to Canada immediately? And how can it be different from studying online from India as well from studying online to Canada? So sorry, I know. I get your question, Kumar. I said it wrong there at the end, sorry. But this is a good question, and this is where a lot of students are kind of in this situation. So again, according to the current travel restrictions, even if your study permit is approved, since all your classes are online for the fall term, it is not essential for you to be in the country, and you likely would not be able to enter, and you would be refused at the port of entry to enter the country. So again, you would have to have that visa approval before March 18th and a letter from Lakehead deeming it essential for you to be in the country for this fall term. Once the travel restrictions are lifted and you are able to travel into Canada, then you would be able to come no matter if your classes are online or not. You would be able to take them in Canada or out of Canada. And there really should be no difference for you. I mean, obviously there's time difference for you, but we are all still here for you as advisors. There's going to be lots of support, workshops, and fun things happening outside of classes. So you'll still have the great Lakehead experience, even if you're taking your courses online from home. The next question is coming in from Kapil. I have applied for the visa on June 24th under SDS. Unfortunately, I came that it was $7 short excess fee for UHIP. Now I have paid $100 in my account department for the first year payment. So to be honest, the little bit of difference between the UHIP fee, I don't think that would affect your SDS application, Kapil, but it is good if you are making that payment. And what you can do is send an IRCC web form inquiry, and you can attach the payment to your file and just let them know that you saw there was an adjustment in the health insurance fee after you had registered. The balance is now paid. Please see the receipt attached for that. Again, I don't believe that that would be such a big deal. They're looking at making sure you're paying the $30,000 tuition and having the GIC for the SDSD program. The $7 difference probably wouldn't be such a big deal to them. This happens all the time with bank transfer fees as well. The next question is coming from Arvin. I wonder if you can inform us of the two-step process for the study permit applications. As far as I know, no one has received this new method yet. And Arvin, you know what I know. So I have heard the announcement from the minister and shared that as well about the first and second stage approval process. There also is some information on the website looking at biometric exemptions, stating that students or people who have already applied or will be applying may be exempt from biometrics right now. However, when we're applying online, I'm not seeing those exemptions in place, and I'm not seeing any messages about first or second step approval process. So you unfortunately have the same information that I have, but please stay tuned next week. Hopefully we'll have more information to share on this. Next question. If I come to Canada during November for fall 2020, during which month can I apply for the spouse visa from Canada? So you can apply anytime for your spouse to accompany you in Canada. You can do it after you arrive, after your first semester, or again when you initially apply for your study permit from your home country. So is it possible that we can travel to Canada in the fall term? Well, of course, anything is possible. We are watching updates from CBSA and IRCC every day to see if they allow all international students with study permit approval to enter the country, and as anything else changes regarding the situation. We know that there are restrictions within countries right now about leaving. We also know that getting flights can be very hard and difficult right now, and some students are worried about the risk of traveling. So that's why we're very happy that IRCC is supporting the online classes for the fall term. If you do not have a letter saying it's essential for you to come and you do not have a study visa approval for March 18th or before, you cannot travel to Canada right now under the current restrictions. Next question from Yasser. For online classes, do we need to apply for the study permit, or we can take online classes without it? So you can take online classes from your home country without the study permit, but the benefit of having your study permit approval is that you can use those classes and that time towards your postgraduate work permit duration when you graduate. So students must study for 16 months or 2 years or longer to qualify for a 3-year open work permit when they graduate. So you want to make sure you have study permit approval, even if you are taking the classes from home, so that this will still count towards your graduation work permit. Next question is coming from Arufa. Hi, I am from India and going to start the Honored Bachelor of Science, Computer Science in fall 2020. When do I need to apply for the study permit? As of now, I'm going to take the online classes. When will it be possible for me to join the university campus? So this is a good question. And if you've already received your letter of acceptance for the fall term, you definitely need to get your study permit application in as soon as possible. I believe for India, the processing is around 6 to 8 weeks. So you need to allow for enough time to get that study permit approval before September. Once the travel restrictions are lifted and once your permit is approved, then you will be able to travel to Canada and start your classes here. Right now, we have not confirmed what's happening. It looks like it will be business as usual for January. However, we cannot confirm any details until we see what happens with travel restrictions and our government's restrictions as well around the COVID-19 situation. Another question coming in. What if I don't get my study permit until the 21st of September? How is my postgraduate work permit affected if I get an approval on a later date? I'm enrolled in the MBA program, Advanced Studies, so the 16-month program. So your program is a great example, Kapil, from this. So if your study permit approval came in on September, anytime in September, I think even in early October, immigration should consider that time for your postgraduate work permit. And when you complete the 16-month master's program with MBA, our graduates are usually receiving the 3-year open work permit or have in the last intake. So you want to make sure that you do have study permit approval for all 4 of those terms, because it could affect your postgraduate work permit if it's for less than that. 12 months and 16 months are very different for the postgraduate work permit outcome. But again, if it comes around the end of September, first week of October, I would anticipate IRCC would support this for you. In past situations where schools have been on strike or throughout this COVID situation since March, we've seen nothing but support from IRCC for students. Obviously, these situations are out of your control. But if you don't apply for your study permit and allow enough time for processing, IRCC is not going to consider this situation. So you have to follow their rules and you have to still allow enough time for processing. Even if there was no COVID situation and closure right now, you would still be making sure you're applying for your study visa to start classes in September. We are already starting to get into August, so it's getting later and later every day to start that application. Okay, the next question comes in. If we want to defer our courses to the winter session and the course is not offered in the winter, is it possible that the course is not offered in the winter due to the current situation? So we actually usually only have a lot of our master's programs only start in September. And I believe they actually have become more flexible for January 2021 to allow some programs. It is just Lakehead's academic calendar and how we deliver our programs that most of our master's programs have a September start date. If the program is not offered in the winter, you may be able to consider deferring until September 2021. Next question. Will the university be issuing approval letters to travel since I have no issues to start my studies online? My study permit is still in process. So Lakehead is now under current discussions about the institutional letter. We are aware that students who are essential to be here in Canada in the fall will require a letter from our institution. And just know that we're working on this momentarily and there should be an update very soon. And for once, I'm actually done all the questions before they've come in. So again, this usually doesn't happen as often as we should. You know that you can still continue to ask questions throughout here if you need to. We do have the email if you have more specific inquiries, or again, the welcome email is in there as well. I haven't really taken a look, but it looks like the chat's been pretty quiet today too. So looks like our past sessions have been really good for students. And another question has come in here. In the case I start my fall courses with my study permit approval in the first stage, will I be able to get a full refund for the amount paid if the visa is refused at the second stage, even after September 21st? Or what if the VACs are still closed post-September? So lots of parts to this question. So you need to be mindful of the important dates, as I've mentioned before. On the important dates, it will tell you the last day to withdraw from classes or the last day to request a refund. Those are the dates you need to pay attention to for full refund amounts. If the visa centers are still closed into September, I would anticipate further support from IRCC like we have seen in the past. You used to have to get your biometrics completed in 90 days, and now there is no time limit, as even here in Canada, we still cannot give biometrics. So I would anticipate further support and maybe further exemptions or delays if the visa centers are still closed. And that's where I think the 2-stage approval process will come in. It's my understanding with the 2 processes that once you've met that first stage, it's very slim chances of refusal past that point. So then I think it's just like medical biometrics and simple little things that just need to be checked off for you to actually be approved. So I feel quite confident if you've had that first stage of approval that you could start your classes and, you know, feel quite comfortable that you will still see that study permit approval. Okay, another question has come in. Who do I email regarding prioritizing the application for study permit? Since my course starts on September 8th, my medical was passed on July. I completed the application. So you can always check. I'm assuming you've applied online for your study visa, and you can always log into your account to watch what step it is at. It likely is still in progress, but if you applied for your study visa back in June or July and it's past the processing time online, you can use the IRCC web form. So on their website, just search web form at the top, and you can send a specific inquiry about your application. So please note, you will need to have your client ID and your application number. You can also upload more documents to your file if you need to, or you can specifically just ask for an update and say that you've applied, the medical is submitted. Can you please just give you an update on your study visa approval? Just note that I know students are submitting web forms and not getting a response, sending another one, and is honestly just causing more backlogs for IRCC. So if you've already submitting a web form, or if it's not past that processing time, if you've applied for your study visa just 3 or 4 weeks ago, you likely won't have a response yet. So you just have to be patient and wait it out like the rest of us. Well, this is good. We had no open questions, and I know we're only halfway in. I did sit in on a webinar with cbsa not too long ago, so I'm happy to share some updates if we have no questions. So the question was asked, if an international student is approved a study permit, what will happen when they arrive at the port of entry? Students will have to show that their study visa was approved before March 18th, and also will have to have a letter from the institution. Immigration will ask the questions about them, or questions upon arrival, questions around the purpose of their trip, so saying that you're here to study, any public health concerns, so making sure that you're not displaying any symptoms and so forth, and making sure that you have a travel plan. Please make sure you're referring to the arrival welcome package that you received from Sarah from our office. It has all the important details and links and what you have to give for that. Is there any talk about changing the March 18th rule and allowing all students with approval to enter the country? And this is where they had no comment, but they said please watch their Twitter feed. So CBSA does have a Twitter feed for important updates. If there's any changes to that, they would put it there. Another question has come in while I'm going through here. So I'm from India and I have applied for the study permit in June and still not completed the medical or biometrics. How much time will it take to process? Well, right now there's nothing you can do until the visa centers are open. So likely I would hope to see that you would likely see this first stage approval message. But once you have the biometric and medical, it should go quite fast after that. I imagine those are the only two things that's outstanding for you. It's mentioned that we will need to tell who's providing us groceries or quarantine, but how can someone give us groceries as we are in a new place? Well, this is a great question, and this is why you should be going through the email from Sarah, as we do have a lot of information in there for both the Thunder Bay and Aurelia campus. So in Thunder Bay, we have places like Skip the Dishes or Uber driving, where they actually do grocery orders. We also have a wonderful staff here at the office, so please keep connected with us if anything comes up. But when you come to Canada, you need to have, like in the past, I have dealt with lots of students who just arrive, kind of hang out or stay in a hotel or don't really have any plan, and kind of figure it out with other students, which works. I know it does work, but it's not going to work during COVID. You definitely need to have an address, have a phone number of someone who the CBSA officer is going to be able to get a hold of right away, and everything when you arrive here in the country. So please go through the message from Sarah. We'll talk more about the groceries and so forth and options for you. You also need to have cash. That's been the number one issue, and I know it's coming up in my notes here, of refusals at the port of entry. So if you arrive in Toronto, you need to make sure you have Canadian cash on you. You won't be able to open a bank account or anything for at least 2 weeks, and there's going to be expenses for maybe taxis or hotels or grocery orders and things like that. So you need to make sure you have Canadian cash on you. And Rupa has asked another question here. In India, I won't be able to get the biometrics process under 90 days considering the pandemic. Can I still take my online classes without the study permit? So we already have noted that the 90-day has been extended for the biometrics. There will be no refusals or cancellation of applications because you're waiting to do biometrics. You will just be granted further extensions, and you will see your application will just sit there in progress. So yes, you can take your online classes for fall without the study permit. Again, we want to make sure we have study permit approval if you want that time to count towards your post-grad work permit, but you can still physically take your courses without it. So, what kind of evidence should be provided at the port of entry? Again, just some notes from my webinar. Uh, a letter from the institution must be a letter on Lakehead letterhead indicating the student must be here in Canada. So students who have 100% online course delivery will not be considered essential travelers. How does CBSA assess a quarantine plan? So they're going to ask when you arrive, where will you be isolating? How are you going to get to the place that you will isolate? Who will you be in contact with? And will there be any vulnerable people? So people who are elderly or already have illnesses. How will you get to your home? I've mentioned that. Address, contact number, who will get you groceries? Do you have medication you need? You must have a phone or have contact with someone. And of course, Lakehead has made an arrival plan. So if you fill out our page, you can actually just print that and make sure that you bring that with you at the port of entry. So Yasser has asked another question. If my visa is disapproved, then will I be able to complete my courses online? So you can still continue to take your courses online. Obviously, I would recommend resubmitting your study permit application if it was refused, and resubmitting right away with additional notes and details explaining or addressing their concern for refusal. But yes, you could still continue to take your courses online. If you take those courses without the study permit approval, you cannot use that time towards your postgraduate work permit duration. So again, you need to study for at least 4 terms or 2 years with study permit approval in order to be eligible for your 3-year open work permit when you graduate. Couple more things. What are the most common things students are forgetting when they're forgetting in their plan, or the biggest problems upon arrival? Students coming with no money, students having no one to pick them up or nowhere to stay, and students don't have a cell phone or they can't use their cell phone because of the SIM card issue, or do not have an address or a phone number of where they can go. What are the possible consequences for students who do not submit a proper plan upon arrival? They will be refused entry and sent back to their home country. There's been some discussion about airlines also screening, and some schools have been hurting. Students have been turned away before even boarding their flight in their home country. So airlines should be asking for the same information, showing the study visa approval and the TRV and your approval message. But I do note that the essential letter from the school, some airlines, I believe even in India, I think it was noted, they're asking for that just to save you trouble before you get to Canada. So please just make sure you have that essential travel letter as well. Returning students have to have the same thing. So you do also have to have that letter saying you need to be here, or graduating students who have the postgraduate work permit also need a letter from their employer saying that they must return and have classes. Even if you have a job interview in Canada, it's not considered essential. You'll have to have a letter saying you are working here. So can international students who arrive in Canada take public transportation if they arrive? As most of you know, you'll have to arrive in Toronto and then you'll connect to a flight to Thunder Bay. So hopefully your connection is within the same day and you will stay in the airport and then just continue to Thunder Bay where you will do your isolation. You do not have to isolate in Toronto. If you're going to the Aurelia campus, please make sure you're in connection with Katie as she is sending out information for this. So yes, you can take a public transportation, but it is not encouraged. They really want you to get picked up by friends or family, or use the arrival services pickup, and make sure that you have masks and sanitizer and so forth. And if you're meeting friends in Canada, please don't have a whole carload of friends come to the airport to pick you up. Just have one friend come and maybe have your visits with your friends in 2 weeks after you've done your isolation. Of course, people can use the washroom or get food while they're in the airport. It's not like you can't walk around or do anything. It's obviously life things, and you may be in the airport for 12 hours after your 12-hour flight. But please just make sure that you're following the Public Health Canada rules and regulations. In many countries, you have to stay 1 meter apart, but in Canada, it is actually 2 meters apart. So please make sure you're following all of our protocols, washing your hands frequently, and using a mask when you're not in private areas. So if you're moving in with a family or staying with other friends here in Canada, when you first arrive into their home, you will isolate for your 14 days. The other members of the family should try to keep their distance and try to not be using the kitchen or obviously the bathroom at the same time. But your roommates housemates are not required to isolate while you're there. However, if anyone starts to show any symptoms, you all should report that to the health unit. We have the Thunder Bay District Health Unit, and everybody would have to isolate at that point. So is health insurance required at the port of entry? So as an international student in Canada, they know that health insurance is always included with your tuition, and we include it here in Ontario. So you won't have to actually show proof of the insurance, but make sure you have your letter of acceptance showing you're confirmed to be at Lakehead with that, because you will have UHIP coverage for when you arrive here in Canada. And I believe Chris Gallagher is asking students to confirm if they are here or not. So please, if you're planning to travel or if anything changes within the restrictions, you must notify them and let them know you will be here to make sure you have health coverage in place. So if we have any exchange students on here, we often have exchange students who come just with a visitor visa, the TRV, or an ETA to enter Canada. Just so you know, you will actually be considered a visitor even though you're here for studies. So we encourage you to also apply for a study visa, so a study permit visa for entering Canada. And the benefit about doing that, I know it will cost a little more money and take a little more time, but you'll be able to work. You can work on and off campus while you study as an exchange student. So there are some benefits of coming on a study permit. And that's really all my updates from IRCC. So we've gone through quite a few questions here, and it looks like we have no open questions. I'll again just remind everybody that you can follow us on Facebook, Lakehead University International. We're on Instagram, Twitter, and also all these sessions are recorded live on the Lakehead Live series with our YouTube channel. You can also take a virtual tour. So even though you can't physically be here on campus with us, we love to show you how beautiful this campus is, and can't wait for you to actually come and enjoy it. So please feel free to use the link below and have a tour of the campus while you're here. Don't forget, tomorrow is another Lakehead Live session. So the Wednesday session will start at 10 a.m., just like this one. And if there are no more questions in today, then I guess we will have our first ending of our session. I think there was a few more that might have come in. Yeah, there's a big question in here that comes in. So could you please address my below concerns about the fall term? So the first question is asking, as government has decided to process the two-stage approval, and if the first stage approval, if my visa does not come before the fall term, i.e. September 8th, can I drop all courses and defer to the next term? So for the first question, you have to look at the important dates calendar, and certain programs, so master's and undergraduate programs, have different rules. So please make sure you're just looking at your important dates and reading over your letter of acceptance deadlines. And if it's before September 8th, you should be able to withdraw from your classes and possibly defer to the next available intake. So you have to ensure that your program is actually available in the winter term. And again, you should just contact admissions, just asking what your options would be for that. The second part of it is if I got my first stage approval for the study permit and started my courses this fall, but later get a rejection in the final stage, shall I get a refund for my fees which are not used? So again, you have to look at the important dates. There's a specific deadline to apply for a refund or to withdraw from your classes. So if the rejection comes in later from that date, no, you would not receive a refund. However, you're welcome to continue taking those courses, and you would still receive an academic transcript of those courses for your future reference if you do come to Canada or do take our program, or maybe transfer those credits back to your home institution there. The next question, how does the situation look like in Canada? Does it look like the borders will be open in September? Well, here in Canada, I have to say we have quite a good handle on the COVID situation. It's unfortunate to see, I know some places, I was speaking with a student in South America, and they actually are just starting to feel the impact of COVID. So it's interesting to see how it's going throughout the world. Of course, there are experts who anticipate a second wave of it coming through, but here in Canada, we have actually had quite strict restrictions around traveling for the longest time. And now we are in Ontario, so each province has their own rules, but here in Ontario, we're actually in stage 3, which means almost all businesses are opening up and things are kind of getting back to normal. Of course, masks are mandatory when you're walking around in public here in Thunder Bay and also in Aurelia, I would imagine. You have to wear masks in the public, so to keep people safe, but we've had very, very low new numbers of cases across the country. And fortunately here in Northwestern Ontario, we've been pretty good and haven't really seen anything in a long time. So So, of course, we pray for everybody around the world, and hopefully everybody gets through this together. It's looking good for Canada, but I have absolutely no idea. Even in my 10 years of doing this, I can usually foresee something. I definitely foresee the biometric exemption continuing on, or that not being a problem for students. That's why I still think you should apply, but I don't know about the travels and border. Especially like with our Canada-US border, they still have continued to keep that closed as well. So sorry, Kolia, I can't really give you a good answer on your question, but please note I will share as much information as I get with you guys. That's it. And if there's no other questions coming in, I'll say thanks to my my co-workers on. BJ, thank you for sitting on. I know it was a lot of questions about immigration, but I'm glad you were able to stay here and be here with us. Sorry, one more question came in. When can we expect the biometrics to open? $1 million question. I ask every day my counterparts here at Service Canada, who collects biometrics for Canada or Ontario, and we have no answer. So I have heard that some biometric centers have opened and started to take appointments from around the globe. So hopefully with the cases staying low, we will see more and more biometric collection. Or maybe IRCC will just start to collect those biometrics when you enter at the port of entry. So please stay tuned for more information about this first and second stage approval as we get the information. And as I start to see it actually happening in the applications, I will definitely be sharing with you. Anything you want to say, Vijay, before we end off our session?
Oh, no, Jen. First of all, I would like to congratulate all of you for getting admitted to Lakehead University, and we're also equally excited to see you on campus. Hopefully everything gets well, we find a vaccine and borders open. But yeah, and if you have any questions regarding course registration or just general queries, you can always reach out to one of the international student advisors. And you can also book an appointment with us and visit our Community of Care webpage. And yeah, and happy Raksha Bandhan to all students from India. I know as all of you might have celebrated it. Me too here. Yeah. I'll share the link where you can book your appointment with one of the international advisors if you need help with course registration in the chat shortly.
Yeah, you'll also see from the Community of Care, we have all sorts of fun online programming and things happening. So you can connect with me. I do drop-in immigration sessions twice a week where people can just come in for quick questions. Of course, you can book one-on-one appointments with any one of us. And you'll also see what's happening with our Lakehead Live sessions that are happening. So of course, we'll have a whole new variety of programming that will happen in September with lots of nice themed things for you studying abroad, and then also for while you transition here in Canada. So we look forward to supporting you, and know that you are still our students and we are still here for you. You have a great team of advisors and a great family at Lakehead who are waiting for you to come as well. So I see Vijay did share some chats with you. Thank you, Vijay. I didn't want to switch my screen at all and lose my PowerPoint. So we have some important dates here, and also feel free to connect with our online Community of Care. As always, thanks everybody. Oh, wait, I see one more question. Thank you for all the responses. Yes, please contact me if you do. You guys have my email. I'm here next Tuesday as well. So thanks, and have a great week ahead.